Hi, it's Tabby, and this week I am recording from my room because I'm a little bit too soft-spoken to be heard anywhere else in my house. I really need to invest in a mic. But I am doing a continuation sculpture. So this is my original, and I call this Pit of Despair, and it is a woman drowning in her own tears, reaching for help, and pretty dark, pretty deep. Just a symbolism of depression. I made that piece a couple years ago in some struggles in my life, and I wanted to make a continuation piece of getting out of the pit of despair. Here I start with a salsa jar, and I am covering the entire thing with a thin layer of super clay. I first roll it through my pasta maker on its thickest setting, and I just cover the entire jar. I use balled up tinfoil to create texture for the bricks on this well, and then I use my needle tool to map out where the bricks are. Sorry for the sudden change in scenery here. I moved in the middle of this project, so this is my desk at my current house, and I'm using armature wire to build a body now. I'm using a thick gauge wire to create armature for a person climbing out of this well. I use thinner pieces to connect my limbs and body together and start making essentially the bones. I'm trying to find the positioning of how I want this body to be climbing out. I apologize for the giant leap in stage and sculpting, but here we are. Body's mostly sculpted, and we're working on detailing the face. I'm giving the face basic features really before I stick to a facial expression. Here I'm starting in with the expression, and I'm giving her massive bags under her eyes with a snake of clay that's smoothed in. I decide to give her a grimace or a sneer. I don't know the exact name for the kind of expression that she has, but it really just, I'm thinking about what it would feel like to physically be climbing out of this well after drowning in your own tears for a certain amount of time. This isn't a beautiful sculpture, obviously, if you've seen the thumbnail, but I am trying to put the feelings into it. Every wrinkle that she would have from the stress and effort. Since this sculpture is representation wanting to survive and the effort that is put into that, it's not pretty, but I wanted it to be realistic with it. I wanted it to be raw. It's not pretty to be ill and suffer, and it's not pretty climbing out either. It is a process that doesn't get acknowledged or talked about all the time, but I just want to put a look to it, to where I feel like I'm at in life. Sorry, her face is all dirty looking. It's cat hair. My cat likes to sleep on my art desk. The head is done, and now I'm attaching it to the body with more clay and making a neck. While I feel like the emaciated look does lend to the thought of rotting away and drowning in a pit of your own tears, I beefed her up a little bit, because it takes a lot to get out. Weak people don't survive. That sounds ugly, but and you need muscles to be able to overcome things, mental muscles for the mental things. Sorry, I'm not very well spoken, but I'm trying here. I'm an artist for a reason. I say more with my sculptures than I can with my words. When I add these snake clays for the collarbones and neck tendons, I really feel like it starts coming together. It gives you the feeling of the effort that she's putting in to hold on the edge like this, trying to get out. Here I've got some hands that, alright, got noodle fingers, so we're gonna add tiny little balls of clay for some joints, all the knuckles, especially in a strenuous situation like this. She would really have her hands tensed with the knuckles really straining. Don't mind the stickers on my hands. My daughter is very generous with her stickers and likes to give me some, so I let her put them on my hands. I'm doing fine details with fingernails and things like that. I have this cellophane here, trying to think about separating it in separate pieces, but I ended up giving up on that idea because I didn't want her to warp in the oven and then not fit, so I ended up just nixing that idea and just baking it on the jar. I wanted to be able to take her out and paint her. I ended up being able to do that anyways. It just took a little bit extra effort. Now that everything is baked, I can start painting, and I start with a deep red. I mix my regular red with some purple to get this kind of maroony. I do eventually get her popped off so that I'm not trying to shove the paintbrush in between the surfaces. I paint the inside of the well black because I just want it to look like endless depth, not the bottom of a jar. I add some water to my black paint and go over the outside of this maroon and take a paper towel and dab it off to get some darkness in the recesses and texture. I use gesso as a primer for the body. After the entire body is primed, I mix up some beige skin color and I go over all of the skin. I mix some red in with my skin tone to create a pink, and I am starting in with the waterline and creating some layers and colors in the skin tone. I use some red for the darker, deeper parts of the mouth, like in between the teeth. I want to create varying shades of color on this lip, and I am using this red almost to make it seem like the lips are cracked. I want the way that she looks to tell the story of how she's feeling. As I've said, this isn't supposed to be beautiful. I want you to see her exhaustion, her pain, just the cost of trying to recover, starting from zero. I highlight her teeth with a little bit of white paint. I add white dots for reflections in her eyes, and I mix a little bit of light brown with her skin tone for shadows and shading. I add this to all the recesses in the sculpt. I use a ball stylus to make the pupils in the eyes because I'm trying to make them round and even. So no matter how beautiful she's not supposed to be, I'm not trying to make her wall-eyed. I add some more of the brown tinted skin tone into the recesses of her face. I try to give her a natural nail color of a little bit of pink with the skin tone. Since I imagine that she's fighting for her life, she's going to give it her all and tear up her fingertips while climbing out. And so I add a little bit of red for that. And I'm shading the knuckles just to give everything the depth and the detail. She needs eyebrows, so I start with a shade of brown and give her some shape. I use some black to create some eyelashes, and I mean, not really eyeliner, but I don't want her to look, I want her to look sad, not crazy. She needs some eyelashes. I decide to give her some bloodshot eyes, so I take a fine paintbrush and I do tiny little red spider veins in her eyes. And after that dries, I do like a light pink wash and put it over it. So, and then I'm gonna put some moss on this, just like the original well. So I'm basically imitating the first well. I decided I wanted to add a little bit of detail with colored pencils, so I am doing some darker brown to create some more depth in the eyes and the eyebrow hairs, and just make it that much more tailored and realistic. I use white for some highlights. This is the final result of her painting. And I painted her head brown off screen so that when I add hair, if there's any gaps, it won't be noticeable. I brushed out some brown yarn and cut it into tiny little wefts so I can glue on hair with Fabri-Tac. Well, obviously running out here and being a little ghetto, but it's the last of it, and honestly this is great glue for attaching things to Super Sculpey. And here she is, all done, looking wild. I am adding some UV resin to her eyes and creating tears running down her face as well. I also add some resin to just her teeth, seeing as her lips are supposed to be dry and cracked. Because this is a story of climbing out of a well, of course her hair is still going to be dripping wet, so I'm going to take some more of this UV resin and apply it to the tips of her hair and glue it to her arms a little bit. continue this fake wet look with the UV resin on the back of the hair. This was honestly kind of a terrible process. It kept just sticking together, and I was trying to get it to stick to her, and it kept sticking to my toothbrush. But eventually I get it. Add a little bit more in the front on the other side, and that'll be the last of the UV resin. I like how the second piece came out. I'm calling it Climbing Out for obvious reasons. And I really think that it represents the emotions pretty well. She's a little bit paler than the last one. And so, I mean, I guess technically, artistically, it's not perfectly translated. But I don't care. It's about the feeling and turning feelings into physical things. And that's what I like to do. And it's a good therapy.